Hello and welcome back. Today's video will be about building your own guitar from parts, a process that can be quite rewarding, and it helps you to put together an instrument that does what you want it to do. This is Everything Guitar. This particular guitar is a 2015 Fender Classic Series Canary Yellow. I like the look of the body. I wanted to inspect the neck plate area just to make sure that I thought that was definitely a real Fender, because you never know, you might be buying a copy of something and people are saying Fender, so it must say Fender in the listing, and you just look for the kind of distinctive markings in the neck pocket, because you usually find some kind of markings in there. If it looks completely clean, I've never seen a Fender neck that I know of anyway that is mark free. It usually is some sort of writing or something in there. In this instance, there is a serial number inscribed into that neck pocket, so it was possible to actually trace the origin of the guitar, so it seemed to match. So I just keep a lookout for the condition of the body. I generally look out for any donks that are on the finish, and on this particular instrument you can see that the jack socket and the jack plate and also the traditional bridge are already attached. So that's one or two things less to worry about buying, because you have to cost the price of the body, and if you're buying a separate neck, you sometimes find that this all costs a lot more. Anyway, looking at this body, you can see along the top the screw holes. So you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws that will go into the scratch plate. So 8 holes that will be pre-drilled into the body. So this is a vintage type Strat, and of course the more modern Strats have 11 holes. Now I was happy with that because I actually wanted a vintage bridge, so this is the vintage 6 screw type bridge. The other thing to check is the neck pocket. Look at old pictures, any pictures you can find of a vintage guitar, and look at how many frets you've got, then make sure that the neck pocket fits whatever your spare neck is. So in my instance, I looked at a 50s Strat and decided, yes, it's very similar to the neck that I've got. I still was feeling like I was taking a slight risk, but a little bit of knowledge sometimes helps. You can always ask someone more knowledgeable than you. So that's where I went from there. So looking at the back of the guitar, it already came obviously with the bridge, and you can see that it already came with the 3 springs, the claw that attaches to the springs, and 2 screws that you make the bridge adjustment with. So I thought I'd make a decision on the screws because I like a floating bridge, so the tension on the screws is quite important to me. So the first thing I did when I got the guitar was just to determine the tension of the springs and whether they were worth swapping out. Now when I put a guitar together, I like all of the screws and all the fixtures. Like if it's a Fender, I just keep everything Fender parts. I just buy the Fender screws. You know, they're more expensive and the rest of it, but I just keep it all stock as if it is a real Fender all through and through, which it will be by the end of this process. but it didn't come with the neck plate. So that was one thing that had to be ordered. Now, when you're looking at bodies and you're thinking about buying things, you know, sometimes you can order the body and then look at it and decide what you want there and then, or you can cost it all out and look beforehand. So anyway, I had the pickguard lying around and I thought, well, this is a good use for that pickguard. If you look along the top of the scratch plate, you can see that there's 4 holes drilled for the fixtures for the pickguard. And of course, the 50s style guitar is designed for 3 along the top. So I needed to drop the pickups out of the pickguard, and it's quite easy to do. You just unscrew them from each of the fixtures, and you can do the same with the volume pot. You just take the tops of the pots off and everything drops out basically, and you can see that to the left there. You can see everything dropped out, the 3 pots, the 5-way switch, and then the 3 pickups. And here you can see that same configuration now in the new pickguard. So you can see there's 3 screws along the top of that one. So all in all, that's quite a quick process. But of course, this means that I'm outside the 50 specifications. I've now got a noiseless Stratocaster. It's going to be useful for recordings and on stage. So one of the considerations when you have your electronics, you obviously have to wire it in. And one of those things that you need to consider is the wires that come from the jack socket. There are 2, a signal wire and an earth. The earth from the jack socket, it can be wired to the back of a part. Any parts of any switches that's going to earth anyway, you can always wire that in any way you like. But the other consideration is under the bridge, there will be a string earth. So that has to be wired in. And again, you wire that in to the back of a pot. For an earth, you want a nice hot connection. And before you attach the electronics, this is a good time to clean the innards of the guitar and just get out any horrible residue that's left from when they sprayed it. And you just use a cotton bud and some alcohol to clean that out. And then here's the process of wiring everything in. So it's just those really string earth and jack socket has to be wired in. The string earth will be running from under that bridge there. And the other consideration will be that the actual tremolo arm, the thread size will be important. You'll need to know that thread size so you can order in the correct tremolo arm for the fixture. And then lastly, your neck must be able to fit in that slot. You must choose your neck very carefully. Make sure that, that's why I always advocate, if you've got a Fender body, use a Fender neck. They should match. The drill points should be pretty exacting. And then when you've got the neck in the slot, you can see there the F logo plate. I had a choice of which one I could buy in, but that is a Fender logo, proper Fender backplate there. And there's the finished product with the neck on. Fender Mexican standard neck. Here I think the neck is a 2014. And the body here is a 2015. And then everything wired in, you can see the electronics, everything, and then you just got to test it and make sure it all works. So anyway, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And remember, those that can do, and I better leave out the other bit that says those that can't talk about it. I'll see you in the next video. Hasta luego.